Hey guys, it's Alex, and today I'm here with the book review for Meddling Kids by Edgar Cantero. This is an adult novel that crosses many genres. It is primarily horror, I believe, but it's also historical fiction set in the 80s. It's got a mystery element as it's based on Scooby-Doo, and it has some fantasy supernatural elements thrown in as well, just in case that wasn't enough for you. The premise of this novel is that a group of kids who solved mysteries together based off of the Scooby-Doo gang and also probably Enid Blyton's works are now all grown up and all screwed up. They have a lot of issues and they're going back to that last final case that they believe is unfinished. I gave this book 3 stars. I thought it was a fun time. It was definitely not necessarily to my taste all the time. There were a lot of things this book did that I don't particularly enjoy when it comes to novels. Hence why I had to literally create a new horror shelf for this book, because since having Goodreads for the past however many years, I have not read a horror book. So, my first horror in a very, very long time. One of the coolest things I think about this book, and also one of the weirder things, is the writing style. It's written like a B horror movie. Like, it's incredibly cheesy, it's over the top, but also just the actual writing style itself. There are descriptions in this that sound more like stage directions than they do typical description for a novel. Like, it doesn't always feel like prose. Sometimes it feels like stage directions. Sometimes it's literally just dialogue, like he's just writing a script for these characters. Other times there will be description Other times there will be description like the shot pans left over the town, and it's like very movie focused and very interesting. I didn't always appreciate that, but I did find it incredibly entertaining and very interesting to read. It's the kind of thing where I enjoyed it in this book, but I'm kind of glad this book wasn't a particularly long book. It's only like 300 and a bit pages. I don't know if I could have handled that for like a very long book or multiple books. This is the kind of book I enjoyed this book quite a bit by itself. I gave it 3 stars. It was very fun, very worthwhile. But if this book had a sequel, or if you decide to write a sequel, I don't think I would read it because I don't think I would enjoy that. I think that would be too much of a good thing. This is the kind of book, it works because it's very limited. I wouldn't want to read a lot of books like that. The movie aspect of it was very cool. It was a very visual thing. Like, it really did help me picture what was happening, because that's something I struggle with a lot in books, is just like imagining the scene, and I could do it a lot better here, which I really enjoyed. But again, I don't think I could handle reading this in more than one book. Like, this really set me for this kind of book for like the next few years. The other main positive is that I actually found this book funny. I was worried going in because I know this book has some negative reviews on booktube, but also just I don't get funny books a lot. When a book is described as funny, it's like, I'm not going to get that humor. I'm just going to read it and take it at face value. But this one actually made me laugh, which was surprising. And a lot of the times that it made me laugh were not like the over the top scenes or anything like that. It was the juxtaposition of these characters who were sometimes caricatures, but a lot of the times they felt like real people. They felt like down to earth people. They didn't feel like characters in a book always. Sometimes they did. But sometimes their dialogue literally sounded like things I would say with my friends, or just it sounded like me and my friends talking. And the juxtaposition of that normalcy, with this over the top book with all these monster creatures and the Necronomicon, because like this book is a Lovecraftian, which it was very strange. It's just like that normalcy plus the Lovecraftian horrors going on and the satire elements was really, really amusing, because so much of this book was just absolutely ridiculous. Like, these monsters are running around, these no longer kids, former kids are going after the monsters with the ghosts of their friend. It's hilarious in just the situation itself, but then you have these conversations that just sound like normal people talking. They're dealing with the monsters. The first time they run into a monster, one of them just pulls out a shotgun and shoots it in the head and blows off its head. And like, problem solved for that scene. And it's just funny how normal this book seems and how much it plays on the tropes. I really enjoyed that. I think one reason why it gets a lot of negative reviews is because this book is like satirizing, or like a retelling, spoofing on, I don't know what you would call it, Scooby-Doo, also Enid Blyton. I think it's more obviously Scooby-Doo, but I say that having never read anything by Enid Blyton. From what I read, it was originally just supposed to be spoofing on Blyton. That was how Edgar Cantero pitched this idea. But when he was pitching it to his American editors, I think none of them recognized who Enid Blyton was. So he was quickly like, oh, Scooby-Doo, this is a Scooby-Doo retelling. And it sort of became, you know, meddling kids is the Scooby-Doo catchphrase, which was interesting to me. But I do think it's so heavily based on something that was like a charming part of a lot of people's childhood. Like it's Scooby-Doo. Like Scooby-Doo is like funny, but also very, very sincere. It has that childish sincerity. Whereas this book has all the childishness and an incredibly adult like situation, themes, whatever. But it lacks that sincerity. And I think part of me did miss that. Like I would be down for a retelling that was like just you take Scooby-Doo straight, you keep the same vibe, like obviously change the name of the characters like they did in here, change the settings and like the descriptions somewhat, but like keep the same general Scooby-Doo vibe and just like do a straight retelling when they're older. I would be down for that. And I knew this book wasn't going to be that going in, so I think that did help me a lot just getting through it, but I don't know, I kind of miss that sincerity. I think it goes either way though, it depends on what you like, it depends on what you're going into this book looking for. I knew it was going to be a B horror movie, so I was quite pleased about that. I thought it was fun. I just did miss that sincerity, and I think a lot of people do going in since it's such a part of their childhood. But I think if you go in knowing that you're going to miss that, knowing that it's just a cheesy horror movie, basically. It's like reading a horror movie. I think you'll like it a lot more, and I think that's why I really enjoyed it. My main negative was just that this book did start to drag. The basic joke of it kind of wore thin on me. The premise of like, oh no, these kids are like the Scooby-Doo characters are running around saying fuck a lot. And it's like, okay, that's funny for like 10 pages, but it does get old, and there's a lot more to the joke than just that. That makes it sound a lot more shallow than it was. But it did wear very thin. As I was getting to the end, it was kind of like, okay, I'm ready for this to wrap up. I would have been okay if this had been like 100 pages shorter. And there was a lot of action scenes, a lot of them just like fighting monsters for extended periods of time. And I was not necessarily the biggest fan of that. I don't like action scenes in general. I find them boring, so reading through a bunch of them was just kind of dull. And I think the last 100 pages I was kind of like trying not to skim because I was like enjoying the overall idea, but a lot of what was actually happening in the story at that point was not my favorite thing, but I still thought it was fun. Like it made me laugh, like literally laugh out loud a couple of times, and not a lot of books do that. So it got 3 stars from me, but I did really enjoy it, and I would recommend it if like you know going in that it's like a cheesy B horror movie and it's kind of written like that and that's the style, and like you're not expecting Scooby-Doo as you remember Scooby-Doo from your childhood. But I would recommend it. I thought it was quite a fun time. Let me know down below if you've read Meddling Kids and what you thought of it if you have. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all again soon.